Hey guys, Peter Schmalfeld here. Wanted to give an update. It's been a week, I think, since my last recording. Um, got a little distracted, as you can see on the site here. I ended up making a website for the Tiny Hat games. A few conversations at work and with people that I know was basically talking about the game, and they wanted some more information on it. And I found that it was probably easier to just make something that had the information on it that I could share out. So yeah, tinyhatgames.com is up. It's got a little sign up form, so notification. I doubt I'll use it anytime soon, but it's got a little bit of information about what I'm working on, the in development stuff. I think in the last video I shared this kind of concept artwork, and you can see here we got our little pictogram figures that I was conceptualizing, and I believe that is it for the website. So staying consistent with what I was talking about last week, I feel like it's important to not necessarily, just open up the game and start showing you like what I'm doing, what I'm working on. I'll do a bit of that, but I feel like it's more important to kind of just go through like what I'm learning, what I failed at, like what I've like gotten better at, things like that. Just to show a little bit of vulnerability and that like this is a new area for me, obviously, and that these are big moments of learning. And I feel like it's good to communicate how I'm approaching trying to do this work so that others who are interested in trying to also do something that they've never done before, in my case here making this game, can conceptualize it and try to approach solving a problem. To me, that's the interesting bit here. Since last week, another thing that I've been working on is trying to consolidate all of my efforts into actual version control. I'm a software developer by trade, so I knew it was important that I didn't want to keep everything on my computer, and I wanted to get my progress off the computer and onto GitHub so that I can start, managing versions of it, and especially if I got something working and then it failed, you know how that goes. So yeah, the website that I just showed, that's there. The Unreal ChatGPT agent, this is what I showed last week. In my efforts over the last week, I found that the characters that I wanted to make, I could not find as actual like characters that I could download, like free versions and or even paid versions, really, that of models that closely matched the like pictogram style of what I was going for, and that's actually the premise of what I wanted to make for the fighting game. Even in my concept art, it was not quite there, but I knew what was in my head. And so that then this last week led me into like yet another thing I don't know how to do, which is Blender. I've used Blender in the past for like viewing other people's animations. So I do work with other 3D artists that have made things and I've needed to view them, but I've never needed to make anything before. I did learn pretty quickly that there is things like MCP that you can use with AI, and Blender apparently has a really good one where I can use something like Codex to have a conversation with it. But I also just generally don't know that much about Blender, so even like super basic types of things. So I took that concept that I shared last week with the Unreal ChatGPT agent where I can kind of get some hand holding, and I created the exact same thing for Blender. So going into Blender, this very similar efforts that I needed here. I needed some hand holding. I needed to know how to do something, what not to do. In a real world example, I'm going to just kind of go back up here at the top. This was like the very first thing that I was trying to mess around with. I was looking at animations that I had downloaded from the internet. And I'm trying to remember the name. It was like Mix or something. I can't remember. Mixamo, maybe. I think that's it. And basically, like when I loaded it once, like I could play the animation, and then when I went back into it, somehow like I couldn't anymore. So this was me asking like a very ignorant question. So, and it correctly told me, it's like, oh, you're looking at the differences between something called rest position and pose position. And the reason that I couldn't see the animations anymore, even though I was able to click play, ended up just being an ignorance thing on my side, and I was on a rest position option, which even if I was playing the animation wouldn't work. Anyway, I wanted to go over next to kind of show you um, how all this works inside of VS Code. Okay, so you can see here I have VS Code open. All I'm really using here is I'm using the Codex's, the VS Code extension for Codex, and I'm interacting with the MCP. The important thing that I did here is because I do software for a living, and I knew that I would be interacting with an MCP. I also knew that I wanted to keep track of models and animations and all that good stuff. I actually set up a repository, Mixamo, that was it. Yeah, I set up a repository where I can download some core animations that I would use as an experiment, because I knew I was gonna eventually have to make my own animations, but for now, like just to test out the gameplay, I needed something to like kind of test out the game and move the character around and make it look like it's something, and also help me like understand what I'm going to need in order to do real ones. So I can, if I had seen other people's animations, how they work, how they connect, how Unreal uses them, how they swap out, like that'll give me a much better understanding of like what I'm going to need to do when I do my own animations. So having these Mixamo animations is amazing. So here we are in Blender. And you can see I've got, I think this is a running animation that I'm currently working on. There's some issues with this already. Like you can kind of see like weird bone things. Like this is supposed to be his shoulder, and for whatever reason it's kind of going up and backwards, so making his arm look a little weird. But for the most part, you can see a running animation. And for the sake of this game, 100% okay for me to use this as a test. But yeah, this is the character that I created. And now that I know how to do this, I'm going to go ahead and do this. This is the reset position for this. One of the other things that I did in the educational part from the ChatGPT is I actually wanted to make this character look like a real pictogram, which is from different camera angles. It still looked 2D, and that I had no idea how to do. And so I was able to learn, there's like, I think it's called speculative lighting or something, I don't remember, but basically there's a material that I can apply to this that makes it so that it doesn't reflect any light. And so since all the light's being absorbed by the material, it makes it look like it's 2D. It's kind of like that paint that's like ultra black and absorbs all the light. So it's that, but on a character, which now means that I get this really sweet looking character that like even when it's running, it looks like you'd expect out of a little Portal game or like some other character where like you can animate it and it looks like what you're hoping for. So this for me is perfect for starting the initial gameplay, because I can make it run, jump, punch, and kick, and all that other fun stuff. Mainly, I wanted to do the little slappy, get away from me, little gag stuff, but that's the future animations. But for sure, for now, this is exactly what I needed to do. So what I'm going to show you next is kind of just like what it looks like inside of the Unreal Engine. So here, this is just the editor. You can see that like I've put the characters in there. And this is one of the things I needed the Unreal ChatGPT agent for. I had the original like kind of template playable characters that they give you from the Unreal Engine, and I needed to swap that out with my own characters, and I obviously had no idea how to do that. So the ChatGPT agent that I had built did a very good job of walking me through all of that stuff. I ended up being able to make my own blueprint for that character that I can actually put in here. I called it base character. And then in that base character, I was able to kind of swap out the skins and skeletal structures and do animations and then map those animations and basically clean up all of the stuff that was in the template game that I'm not going to need. I still have the assets like this, the background here that you can see, like that, those are placeholders for now, but everything else was removed. So I've got the same basic template from last time that I shared this with you. But now we've got this stage set up. One of the other things that I did need to learn how to do is that these characters couldn't actually get close enough to where their arms would be able to hit each other, because there was, if I click on here, you'll be able to see, it has like a bit of a, this yellow cage around it, which is the capsule. And so this capsule acts as a collision, was like where the objects are allowed to hit something else, and then it considers it a collision if inside the container. The previous version, this is again stuff I've learned since last week. The previous version was massive, and so what was happening is I had the two players coming close to each other. They couldn't actually like get close enough to hit because this collision container was so massive that it was just causing them to get far enough apart where they wouldn't be able to hit. Funny, like for the purpose of the game, but I still would like them to be able to hit each other. So a lot of learning on how to replace a character, how to swap all this stuff out, and then also how to get a basic animation here. So what I did is I have an idle animation. I'm going to show you that here next up. So this is the actual gameplay for the game, and I've got my little happy little controller here. And then from here, you'll be able to see that like I can still move around. I can still kind of do some jumping, things like that. But now I can actually get close enough to the character that where I wasn't able to do this before. Push them up against the wall if I need to. They can follow me. But now I'm in striking distance. If I were to put my arm out, I'd actually be able to hit them. Whereas before I was able to get right about here, which is just too far away where kicking and punching wouldn't really do anything. So, but yeah, you can see the character, no light reflecting, no like the specular lighting stuff is exactly what I was hoping for. So the material came in perfectly fine. Hopefully by next week, once I'm sharing this out, like I'll actually have the running animations and hopefully like jumping and kicking and the basic stuff from Mixamo that I can port over. I need to, I'm already knowing that there's going to be a lot of stuff I need to learn because there's an animation for when I go from stopped into walking. So if I'm doing a slow speed, which is possible, like I could do something like that. That might be a walking speed, and then this would be a running speed. I also have a backwards walking, so I'm going to make it so that you can't really run backwards. So it's like I want to have a different speed going backwards than forwards. But yeah, so you can go from stop to starting to walk, go from walking into running, and then from running back into walking, and then walking into just stop walking. Those are all different animations that happen. Jump animation, there's coming from off the ground, there's the animation in the air, then when you land, and then the punching and things like that. So there's a lot, but that's where going back to this week's exercise was setting up the scaffolding and thinking about how to approach that, because that was complicated and like how many animations going to have to do. I'm sure as I was doing these animations, I was going to discover that the skeletal structure or the way that I built the model wasn't going to condone doing some certain types of movements. And so I was going to probably have to refactor that quite a bit. So, and that did happen. I got to 3 animations, and then that started to seem like I had gotten to where it was going to be pretty consistent. So hopefully that's the case, and I can, experiment with this. So thanks for being along for the ride, because I know it's going to be interesting, and I'm going to continue to try to show you not like me building the game, but just all of the tools and the thought processes and the discoveries I've made along the way about doing something you've never done before, and like how to approach thinking about it. I think that's the unique view that I can provide here. As somebody who's never made a game before, I doubt you want to see me showing you I'm an expert at making a game, because I'm not. I can admit that, but I do believe that what my specific skill sets are going to be how to approach solving problems, especially new ones that you've never approached before. And that is a skill I think I can share with people. So hopefully you find that valuable, and I will see you next time. Bye.